removing this left front,
Mm-hmm.
she would much, good girl. Shh. Shh. Good girl. Shh. Good girl. And her frame's up because I just whipped her. And she's like, holy shit. But she's pretty good about moving where I tell her to. Good girl. So the first thing I try to make sure as I'm doing whatever with her is that wherever my hand goes, she follows it. So if I turn, if I turn left, and she's sort of ignoring me a little bit because she's looking around.
Mm-hmm.
But if I turn left, she should come with me. If I turn right, she should move away from me, And that goes for walk, trot, whatever pace I'm doing. And I try to keep this right hand, really pretty still. And if I need to, I can tap her chin down a little bit. She's a little stuck in her chin. She tends to, if I just pull on this chain, she gets sort of bullish against it, which is why you'll see me go to kind of a tap on it.
Mm-hmm.
And as she gets finished, the hope would be that that would go away, that you could just pull down and she'd listen. So when I go to set her up, be real careful that you make sure she's not doing stuff without you. So like sometimes I'll stop and just stand like this because I don't mind if when I turn to her, she starts to think about setting up, but I don't want her to do that before I've even turned to her. Does that make sense? So I will walk her forward, stop, and remind her to stand before I ask her to do something. And if she gets sort of braced against me, I'm going to just soften that chin down. Whoa. And like there, where she wasn't listening, I'm going to get after her just a little. I try not to get after her too much with the crop, because she just kind of gets a little bit wiggly then. I just use that. Whoa. Whoa. And that's what I mean about the sort of, she wants to anticipate just a little bit. So I remind her, and I'll go through and have a day where maybe I'll just do this, over and over and over and over, because she wants to think, whoa, too hard about what's coming next. And to some extent, a little bit of that is okay, because a really good showmanship horse has to be super sharp, but she cannot be guessing all the time. Whoa. So then when I go to set her up, and she's getting relatively good about that hind leg. The left hind is the only one that moves. The right hind never moves, okay? So the left hind, I'll use a little verbal cue, a little cluck if I need to tell it to move forward or back. And I'm going to move it until it gets where I want it. And then I'm going to say, whoa, okay? If, like here, where her front legs are good, I'm going to give her another, just a little soft whoa, and stand up. If she has come up in that chin, I'm going to tap it back down. I don't want her down, hiding behind that chain, but I don't want her up above it either. I just want her, like for her, for the showmanship, right about there would be perfect. Right about where her neck comes out of her wither is where she should sort of hang it. The one thing you have to watch, and this is what I'll use, and I don't know if she'll do it for us today or not, but sometimes she wants to set that hind leg like she could drive a Mack truck between them. So when she does that, I will sometimes use this whip as an extension of my arm. Don't even touch her with it, but to line her back up. Because all she's done then is she's just sort of done this. And that's not good either. She
Kind
needs
of
to,
toes out this left
yeah,
side.
exactly. She needs to stand up like about that is good. Any wider than that, and it's like, no, no, honey, that's unattractive. And so I will just use this crop as sort of an extension of my arm to say, get that leg back underneath where it should be. Good girl. I'm going to make sure that I can walk to here before she steps off. I don't want her stepping off before I ask her to. And this is where it's really important that you stay really consistent. Then I'm going to give her the verbal cue, which is just a little cluck, so that when I walk off, she's ready for it and walks with me, okay? And now this is the part where, like I said, she's going to be a little confused because I'm talking, and she's not used to me doing that while we practice, so. And then that gives her the opportunity to walk off. If she doesn't step off right with me, my right hand, my shank hand, stays steady, and so if she doesn't step off with me, it pulls on her. You know, she runs into that chain, and then she comes forward. Now, if she stops and sticks that chin up like that, I'm going to tap it back down. And it looks a little bit aggressive what I'm doing with my hand because I have to be. She's not particularly soft and supple. And so if I don't get in there kind of hard, like I said, she'll just brace that red chin right against it, and we'll get into a pulling war that'll last forever. And I don't need that. So there, I gave her the little cue. She didn't listen, so she ran into my hand. That time, she didn't because she was paying attention. And those verbal cues will go away as she becomes broke. I use them in the beginning to help teach them that what I want her to follow is my hand and my body. And then as she starts to figure that out, then those verbal cues soften more and more until they're gone. I always use a little whoa. And again, I'm going to whoa before I actually stop, so she has a little heads up that it's coming. Whoa. Now, do you see what she's done here? She was sort of anticipating maybe a turn, and she's got her front end. So I'm going to pull her back and straighten her back out, because that wasn't what I asked for. Whoa, good girl. Now, for these front feet, what I'm going to do, and she's pretty responsive to praise, so I make sure like there she listened, she moved that hind foot just the tiny amount that I wanted, so I'm going to give her a little bit of a good job. For these front feet, for this right front, I'm going to pull her slightly towards me, okay, which pulls the weight off of that side, and then I can move my hand forward or backward for that foot. I don't use a verbal cue for the front feet. If she gets stuck and doesn't move them, I'll just touch with my foot or with this prop. So I'm going to pull her towards me and forward to loosen that foot up, good girl. And then I'm going to say, good girl. Now, in an example like this, where I had to pull her to straighten her out, her legs are a little awkward, so I'm not going to go for a perfect setup. I'm going to go for that she's listening to what I asked her for, and then I'm going to walk forward and do it again. Because it would be very difficult for her to set up very square and well the way I pulled her feet around to get her straightened back out. So all I was looking for there is that when I gave the cue, she moved the correct hind leg, and when I gave the cue, she moved the correct front leg. And she's square, she's just too wide, and kind of, especially that right hind is a little wonky. But that's not something at this stage that she's ready for me to try to fix all of that right this second, because that requires a little bit higher level of brokenness than she's got, you know, quite yet. Now see there, I didn't give her any verbal cue at all, and that was because she was sort of ready. When I stepped around to her, I could feel that she was like, whoa, ready to roll. Whoa, good girl. And so there, that's when I start taking the verbal cues away. And she's about, half and half now, where sometimes I don't have a verbal cue, and that's just where you've got to be consistent and pay attention to what she's doing, because that's a good opportunity when she does that for me to be like, yeah, good job, you didn't touch the chain, you just did your job, and they'll start going away more and more. So for these turns, so for the left front